What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another review here at Big Gold Bell Media. I'm super excited to talk about the season finale, full spoilers of Lawmen, Bass Reeves on Paramount Plus. This 8-episode series was absolutely amazing, and from start to finish, they had me on the edge of my seats. A lot of people can't get down with the Westerns, but I'm a sucker for it, man. I like seeing somebody be able to rise up and defeat odds to be able to accomplish a goal that nobody thought they'd be able to accomplish. So if you don't really know much about Bass Reeves, I can give you like a little synopsis without giving crazy history lesson here. Okay. Bass Reeves was the first U.S. deputy marshal west of the Mississippi River in 1875. So if you think about it, slavery didn't end that long before he became a U.S. marshal or deputy marshal, right? So to be an African-American man in a time not ruled by people that look like you, it's crazy to think that he was able to hold up this duty and basically enforce the law in a world that was already against him, you know? So it's a scary situation, but it's an honorable one that he was able to carry out throughout the years. And almost about 50 years he actually was a lawman, matter of fact. So we won't go too much into a history lesson though, but I figure I'll give you guys just a little synopsis of who Bass Reeves is. Bass Reeves in this show is actually played by the super talented David Oyelowo, and he does such an amazing job capturing this character. He is a English actor, but this Southern 1800s Arkansas accent that he puts on, that's very like grungy and deep and raw, I think is absolutely amazing, and he kills it 100%. The first lady who's actually starring as his wife in the show as well, who's playing Jenny Reeves, Lauren E. Banks, does an amazing job. And of course, I expect nothing other than amazing performances by Dennis Quaid as well as Donald Sutherland, who are legends at best. And then our antagonists in this show, who I've grown to not like at all now because I've watched it, is Barry Pepper. Now, Barry Pepper, I like you as an actor, but the character of Esau Pierce and what he stands for is terrible at most, to be honest with you. So let's talk about the actual show, right? So this show has been building up in these past 7 episodes. Now that we're here at the 8th, which is the season finale, it's been building up this good guy, bad guy, righteous versus evil type relationship between Bass Reeves and Esau Pierce that Bass really never knew was going to be boiling and going to be his final conquering mission in his life, I would say. Bass is just trying to get past slavery, build something for him and his wife, and every twist and turn, Esau has been there over centuries to ruin what Bass has at this point. Consequently, I don't think Esau has been really after Bass this whole entire time, but he is very jealous, I can tell. They both started out in the Confederate Army from the first episode. Of course, not by Bass Reeves' choice, but his owner, who's played by Shea Willingham, George Reeves, actually joined the Confederate Army during the Civil War, and in doing so, his best slave had to go with him. And I haven't found any type of documentation to support this as being a actual event that might have happened in Bass Reeves' life, but they've seen statements online saying that, hey, he was in the Confederate Army, but I don't have any documents to support it, so I can't say that it is 100% true. So they first meet in this relationship there in the first episode, and he admires him, and they seem to strike a relationship. And then later on, as we go further down, as Bass Reeves runs away from being a slave, he decides to go into the Indian territory in Oklahoma and learn Choctaw, right? And he finds a safe haven there from slavery, because slavery is not quite abolished just yet and the war is still going on, right? So he's there and he bumps into Barry Pepper again, who's actually about to rob this little town, and a young man that Bass Reeves treats like a son named Curtis is mortally wounded and is killed by Esau Pierce, right? So Esau obviously gets away, and then we are cutting a little bit forward, and now Bass Reeves has become a farmer, and he's doing his own thing. Met back up with his wife, and now they're having children. They're trying to build a life for each other as farmers, and of course, Donald Sutherland character comes in as Judge Isaac uh, Parrish, and he decides, you know what, I need some law enforcers in this area, and they heard about how of a straight shooter and how straightforward Bass Reeves is. So they decide, you know what, we're going to sign that guy up. No matter what he looks like, where he comes from, what his background is, we need men, period. Bass Reeves gets signed up. And a couple of years later, as he's in the groove and he's, you know, a U.S. deputy marshal of his own, he bumps back into Barry Pepper, who is Esau Pierce. Esau Pierce is now somehow, after being in the Confederate Army, won, right? Okay, that will mark him as I mean, not a lesser good of a person, right? If I would say so myself. And then he's robbing towns, right? And then he meets back up with Esau Pierce when he's trying to do a delivery exchange, right? So the delivery exchange is basically he's taking a prisoner and he needs to go to the Mississippi River to drop this prisoner off at this to meet the Texas Ranger. He gets to the river. Guess who is the Texas Ranger? Of course, it's Esau Pierce. Of course it is, right? Of course. I mean, the story couldn't just end with Esau getting away and killing Curtis, right? There had to be some type of redemption here. So now this is clicking in Bass Reeves' mind. He can't get Esau off his head. And come to find out, over the past couple of years, prisoners have been disappearing after these type of checkpoints or drop-offs deliveries to Texas Rangers. And who's behind it all? It is literally Esau Pierce. So a lot of the prisoners that he had been catching over the time, Bass Reeves himself, have been saying Mr. Sundown gonna come. And Mr. Sundown was a campfire story that they would tell in the 1800s about a slave catcher that had these crazy cannibalistic type mindsets, and he wasn't delivering you to to the law. He was taking you out yourself in some crazy ritualistic type manner, but it was more so to just scare prisoners on their way to getting delivered to the last final destination. And come to find out in this story or in the show, Mr. Sundown's real. He's here, right? So they created this super evil villain out of this crazy narcissistic complex of a man named Esau Pierce, which I think was a great, it was a really, really good pivot point for them to take this character and just make it even more unlikable. And when I say unlikable, I mean like that type of villain that you're like, oh yeah, I can't wait till they finish this guy off and get him out of here. So in doing so, once we're at this point where we're at the 8th episode, and Bass Reeves is trying to gather up a posse that includes Cheryl Lynn, as well as Billy Crow, who's played by Forrest Goodluck, who is like his, not his predecessor, but he's also not a deputy marshal just quite yet, right? So in doing so, they go down to Cinco Peso, where's the ranch where Esau Pierce has this huge mansion, right? And Bass Reeves is trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm here, and come to find out the guy delivered to you, he never got delivered, is what I heard. So let me go back just a little bit, just to explain this a little more. So he found out that the gentleman that he delivered to Esau Pierce never got to his final destination because they get paid based on bodies or boots, right? Boots, you get less pay because that means you probably killed the guy and he's gone. But if you deliver a whole body, you get paid more, right? That's how it worked in the West back in the day when you're collecting a bounty, right? Of course, this person disappears. He drops him off to Esau. Happened to be another African-American man, and Bass is like wretched by it. He's like, what have I done? I basically, sentences my people to death by getting onto this crazy lunatic. So he's like, I'm going after him. I'm going to get redemption. And his ploy to talk to Esau is, of course, like, hey, man, I'm just trying to collect my extra money. You lied and said, that I didn't deliver you the guy, when in fact I did. And he's like, you owe me $50 extra. And he's like, man, you came all this way just for, a couple pennies? Like, you getting money as a lawman at this point, because bounties are going left and right. So he's like, you came all this way, I admire you, why don't you come on in my house? We'll go ahead and talk. We'll have some steak, yada, yada, yada. Come to find out, Esau is a cattle rancher, right? This is what he says, right? Come to find out, all through the years, other U.S. Marshals have been delivering African-American men to Esau Pierce at this checkpoint, right? Not just Bass Reeves. He just happened to deliver one and then catch on and figure out, like, what the heck is going on at this point. So he has been lying about the men, giving their boots away, right, to the authorities, saying, hey, he died, give me the pay, right? When he's been keeping the men, trying to mentally train them to now be slaves again and working on his cattle ranch plantation for free in secrecy. And through the time, he's been collecting all his money, all these bounties, and he calls himself a businessman, right? This guy's got some type of crazy nerve, right? And of course, we're spoiling it all at this point. So Bass Reeves sees the gentleman that he handed over to him, and to get in good with Esau, Bass Reeves is like, hey, man, I want a piece of the business, because as a lawman, he didn't get flack from just Caucasian individuals, but he got flack from African Americans as well, because they saw it as him being a backstabber. They saw him as selling out, right? They saw him as trading his or betraying his own people, because a lot of the people, or sometimes the people that he would catch, would be African American. So it kind of seemed like they were looking for some type of like help a brother out type thing, when he was trying to uphold the law. No matter what you look like, no matter where you're from, if you do the crime, you're gonna do the time with me, and he's trying to walk this straight narrow path. But sometimes when people are chirping your ear, that's always hard to follow, no matter who you are or where you come from. So he decided to use that as a conversation, because he wouldn't seem like, okay, I'm a black slaver too to Esau, right? So a black slaver is, if you ever seen Django, they explain that what a black slaver is, right? It's worst of the worst, right? They're the people that are cracking the whip on the plantation, but they look just like you. That makes sense. So he sees the gentleman that's there. He's in shackles, and the gentleman's like mentally trained to just be like, hey, man, I'll do whatever you want, let me out and stuff. So they say, hey, take the guy out of the shackles. And Bass is just kind of like in awe, like, oh my God, this is the guy I dropped off to Esau thinking he was going to get delivered to the right place. And Esau is on to what Bass thought he could outsmart Esau. And all his men then point the gun at Bass Reeves, and they're like, yo, jigs up. Put Bass in the shackles now, because now this whole time I've been admiring you from afar, but it's because I've been wanting you to be my person, if that makes sense. It's like he's seen Bass as this ultimate slave and this ultimate person to be able to break, and wanting to control him, to be his puppet, his thing, his person that does his bidding, his willing, which is a crazy sick mindset to have, though. But I think Barry Pepper did such a great job. I know he's such a great actor and is such a great person in real life, and it probably took a toll on him to have to conjure up this other side of him that I guess you could say doesn't really exist in real life. Of course, and while this is all going on, of course, Jenny is trying to deal with all these different things of her slaver actually coming back, Mrs. Reeves, saying like, hey, you can come back to live with us. We would love to have you. And she's like, I'm not coming back to the plantation to live there, but their daughter Sally, through this whole entire show, has been building up this relationship with this young man, and they've gotten into a tussle with another group of Caucasian kids, and now it's started up a little ruckus. If you've seen different movies like this with a little bit of racial tension, you'll know that if you mess with somebody that don't look like you, is bad. It's going to get really, really bad, really, really fast. So in doing so, Jenny is able to diffuse this situation and kind of gives her her former owner, Mrs. Reeves, a quick little slap on the face to say, hey, I'm good. I have a husband who's a lawman, and we're going to kind of figure this out. And it's crazy, and it's kind of weird because you never heard anything else from the people that were like burning crosses in front of her house and doing all this stuff to kind of torment them and mess with them. They just disappeared. Like, I'm like, did I miss something? Like, did they like beat somebody up that I didn't know about? But whatever happened, maybe we'll get that explained at a later date. I do know, and I'm excited about that, they have confirmed that there will be doing a Lawmen season 2. Right now, it's a yes and no answer, right? From what I've heard so far, because Lawmen season 2 will showcase another character or another lawman throughout the years. Maybe later on we'll get another Bass Reeves part 2, but I feel like this story probably was pretty complete with the ending. So let's go right back. So Esau and Bass Reeves are going into this tense moment where everybody's guns are drawn. And what they don't know about is that actually Billy Crow and Sherlin, who's played by Dennis Quaid, are actually in the woods watching this whole situation. And of course, Billy Crow is an amazing shot, and he fires off a sniper, boom, hit one of the guys, he's down. And then in doing so, the gunfight starts. In doing so, Dennis Quaid's character, Sherlin, is actually hurt, breaks his leg into like a bear trap. And he's like, I don't want to, do amputation. I don't want to do any of this other stuff and die slowly. So he's gone. We just say he's gone. Okay. And he hands over his deputy marshal badge to Billy Crow. And Billy Crow's having these doubts about, am I ready? And Bass Reeves' character reassures him that you are. In doing so throughout the gunfight in the barn as well out in the field, Bass Reeves essentially takes out Esau Pierce, which is the final straw and icing on the cake, because I was tired of seeing Esau on this show at this point. I was like, the guy's got to go, period, right? Takes him out. And he says something to the effects of, no matter how much righteousness you do, you can't stay away from the light. And I believe David's character, Oyelowo, who's playing Bass Reeves, says, the only light you're going to see is this darkness, which is very summed up that this is going to be the end of you. There's no heaven or hell that's going to be able to hold you, because this is the end of the line for you at this point. If I had to rate this show, this is definitely a 8.5, almost a 9. The only thing that I not that I didn't like is I needed more, right? Like 8 episodes was great, but I need a season 2. We got to finish this off. I need to know more about Bass Reeves' life at this point. Now, of course, Mr. Sundown as well as Esau Pierce, I think these are both not real characters, completely made up to spice up this show. Just to say that this is not any type of historical documentation that was added to it or anything to support these characters. But I will tell you right now, Bass Reeves, this Lawman show on Paramount Plus, was definitely one to watch. And I guarantee you guys are going to love it at home. Take the time, check it out. Lawman, Bass Reeves on Paramount Plus, available now, 8 episodes, now streaming. Thank you guys for checking me out here at Big Gold Belt Media. And for more content just like this, check us out at biggoldbeltmedia.com. I'm Cam. Peace.